It started like any other evening on the orbital station, high above the planet Zarathia. Lieutenant Jason Kane had spent the day monitoring cargo shipments, recalibrating sensors and checking the station's defense systems. Life in space was routine, and routine meant safe. But Jason had always known that safe was never guaranteed, especially not in a universe where humans were not the dominant species. The station's corridors were quiet, save for the hum of the energy conduits and the occasional clanging of maintenance robots. Jason was heading toward his quarters, expecting the dull company of his own thoughts. He reached the door, swiping his ID card, and that was when it happened. The door slid open, not slowly, not politely, but boldly, as if whoever was on the other side had no patience for security protocols. And then she stepped in. She was unlike anyone Jason had ever seen. Tall, graceful, and radiant, her appearance was otherworldly but still oddly familiar. Her skin shimmered faintly in the soft lighting of the corridor, and her eyes glowed a pale violet. Jason froze, unsure whether to reach for a weapon or just stare. The creature, or perhaps the person, smiled. Not a threatening smile, but a smile that carried confidence, curiosity, and something that suggested she expected him to follow her lead. "I am Princess Leora of the Etherian Empire," she said, her voice clear and melodic. "And I need your help." Jason blinked, struggling to reconcile the words with the vision before him. "Your help?" he asked, unsure whether this was some elaborate simulation, a hallucination from space fatigue, or an actual alien princess in his quarters. "Yes," she said. She moved further into the room, careful but purposeful. "I have traveled across light years to find a human. Not just any human, you." Jason's mind raced. Humans were respected across several interstellar empires for their ingenuity and adaptability. But being singled out like this? It was beyond anything he had imagined. He had always known that humans had something special. Even the military briefings had hinted at it. Humans could adapt, survive, and innovate in ways that other species struggled with. But he had never expected to be personally chosen by an alien princess. "Why me?" he finally asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Leora's eyes softened. "Because humans, they think differently. They see solutions where others see walls. You have something I need, your mind, your courage, and your heart." Jason felt a mixture of pride and anxiety. He had dealt with emergencies before, but nothing like this. Nothing where the stakes involved not just life or death, but the fate of entire worlds. Then, "What exactly do you need?" he asked, gesturing toward the control panel in his room. His quarters were small but functional, equipped with communication consoles, data interfaces, and a small holotable. It was not a throne room, but somehow Princess Leora treated it like one. "I need you to come with me," she said. "There is a threat to both our people, and only a human can help prevent it." Jason shook his head. I don't even know where to start. You just appear in my quarters, tell me there's a threat, and expect me to go with you?" "That is exactly what I expect," Leora replied, smiling again with that same quiet authority that made it impossible to argue. "I wouldn't have come if it weren't urgent. You will understand soon enough." Jason sighed, realizing he had no choice. The military training that had prepared him for emergencies in space now demanded action. He quickly grabbed his gear, a lightweight energy sidearm, and a small satchel with essential tools. Leora led the way, walking with effortless grace. Jason followed, trying to match her pace. The station's corridors seemed to stretch endlessly, but somehow she always seemed to know exactly where to go. She opened a side hatch that led to the docking bay. Outside, a sleek spacecraft hovered, engines humming softly, ready for immediate departure. "This is yours?" Jason asked, eyeing the craft with a mix of admiration and disbelief. "It is the fastest ship in my fleet," Leora said, "and it will be fast enough to escape any pursuers." Jason nodded. He was a trained pilot, but even he had to admit the ship looked advanced far beyond anything Earth had produced. Still, curiosity burned stronger than fear. He followed her aboard, noting the controls and displays that seemed almost intuitive, responding to thought as well as touch. "Where are we going?" he asked once they were in orbit. "To the Etherian capital," she replied, her eyes fixed on the stars. "There is a council meeting, but we cannot wait for diplomacy alone. A threat has risen, one that has already destroyed entire colonies. They call themselves the Varkans. They are relentless, intelligent, and they have no understanding of mercy. Only humans have a chance of outthinking them." Jason swallowed hard. "And you think I can do it?" "I know you can. Leora said firmly. Her conviction was contagious, and Jason felt a strange warmth of courage settle into him. He had faced impossible odds before, but never like this. Never had he felt that the entire galaxy's survival depended on his decisions. The journey was long, but Jason soon found that Leora was not only regal, but pragmatic. She explained her people's technology, their culture, and the nature of the Varkans. The Varkans were adaptive, hive-minded predators who consumed resources and civilizations alike. They had no alliances, no negotiations, only conquest. And yet it was humans, with their unpredictable creativity and ingenuity, who had shown the first signs of resistance in recent history. Jason listened intently, absorbing every detail. He realized that his human perspective, his ability to improvise, to take risks that others might consider foolish, was exactly what Leora believed could turn the tide. As they approached the capital, the first challenges began. The Varkans had infiltrated the outskirts of the city, causing chaos in their relentless push inward. Leora guided Jason through defense protocols, showing him the areas where human intervention could make the greatest difference. She trusted him, not because he had proven himself yet, but because she believed in what humans represented: resourcefulness, courage, and adaptability. "Prepare for landing," Leora said, her hand steady on the navigation console. "Your instincts will be needed more than my fleet today." Jason adjusted his seat, gripping the controls tightly. The landing was tense, weaving through anti-air turrets and automated defense drones that had been compromised by the Varkans. But with Leora's guidance and his quick thinking, they managed to land safely. The city was in partial darkness, the streets echoing with the distant sounds of conflict. Leora led him to the council chamber, where representatives from several allied worlds had gathered. They looked skeptical when they saw a human, but Leora's presence silenced all objections. "Humans think differently," she explained simply, "and this human will show us a way forward." Jason felt a mix of pride, fear, and determination. He had been pulled from his ordinary life into a galaxy-spanning crisis, and somehow, he was expected to make a difference. He glanced at Leora, who nodded encouragingly. It was clear she believed in him more than anyone ever had, and for the first time Jason understood that being human was more than a label. It was a responsibility. In a universe filled with powerful alien empires, humans had a unique strength. They could improvise, adapt, and act when others hesitated. And now that strength would be put to the ultimate test. The council chamber doors opened, and Jason stepped forward, ready to prove what humans were capable of. Leora's eyes met his, and he saw the unspoken truth. The fate of not just one world, but countless civilizations rested on his shoulders. He took a deep breath, and with a confidence he hadn't felt before, he walked into the chamber. For the first time, Jason Kane truly felt like a hero, not because of training, weapons, or technology, but because he was human. And in that moment, he realized that sometimes being bold, being curious, and being willing to step into the unknown could change the course of the galaxy. The council chamber buzzed with tension as Jason Kane stepped forward. He was a human in a room full of alien leaders, diplomats, generals, and scholars, each of them accustomed to making decisions that shaped their worlds. They looked down at him skeptically, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed doubt. Jason swallowed hard but held his head high. He had no time for hesitation. He had been chosen because humans could think differently, and now was the moment to prove it. Princess Leora stood beside him, her presence commanding respect. "The Varkans advance faster than expected," she said, her voice steady. "We have intelligence of a central hive deep in the Nabara sector. It is heavily guarded and nearly impervious to conventional attack. But humans find ways others do not." Jason stepped forward. "I've reviewed the Varkan patterns," he said, glancing at the holographic projection in the center of the chamber. "They rely on hive communication for coordination. If we can disrupt their network at key points, we can create confusion, slow their advance, and give your fleets a chance to respond." A murmured discussion broke out among the council members. Some looked impressed. Others were skeptical. A massive reptilian general with amber eyes leaned forward. "And how human do you propose we achieve this disruption?" "The Varkans adapt to every conventional attack." Jason met the general's gaze. "We don't attack conventionally. We attack unpredictably. We use decoys, misdirection, and, if necessary, human ingenuity in unexpected ways. They will not anticipate it because it's not logical in the way they think. The room went silent. Leora's eyes gleamed with approval. Exactly what I expected. He sees the possibilities others ignore. A blue-skinned ambassador with delicate fins along her head raised her voice. It is risky. Human unpredictability may save us or it may destroy us all. Jason nodded. I understand the risk. But if we do nothing, the Varkans will take everything. We have to act. After a tense moment, the council reluctantly agreed to allow Jason to lead a specialized strike team. Leora arranged for him to have access to the fastest ships, advanced drones, and key intelligence data. Jason had never led an alien strike team before, but he quickly adapted. He studied the ships, learned the capabilities of each drone, and began drafting a plan. He decided to split the mission into 3 parts. First, infiltrate the outer defenses and disable the communication nodes. Second, plant a series of interference devices to confuse the Varkan central hive. And third, coordinate a simultaneous strike by allied fleets while the Varkans were disoriented. The team he would lead was a mix of species, each with their own unique skills. There was Tarek, a towering insectoid warrior whose strength and agility were unmatched. Nira, a telepathic navigator who could sense danger before it arrived. And Yal, a small but brilliant engineer whose mechanical expertise had saved countless missions. Jason studied his team carefully. He could see their doubts, but he also saw a spark of hope. Humans had a way of inspiring others, he realized. Simply by believing in possibilities, a human could lead even the most experienced alien warriors. Listen up, Jason said, addressing his team. The Varkans are fast, intelligent, and ruthless, but they are predictable in one way. They expect others to follow their logic. We won't. We'll think ahead, create confusion, and strike where they least expect it. We rely on speed, creativity, and courage. Are you with me? The team nodded. Their confidence grew with every word. Jason could feel it. The first step toward victory wasn't just in the plan, but in inspiring those who would follow it. The night before the mission, Jason could not sleep. He sat in his quarters, reviewing the schematics of the Varkan hive, memorizing every weak point. Leora appeared silently in the doorway. She didn't speak at first, simply watching him. You are ready, she finally said, her voice soft. I can see it in the way you think, the way you plan. Humans are remarkable. You don't just fight, you adapt, you overcome. That is why I chose you. Jason smiled faintly. I hope I don't let you down. You won't, she replied. But remember, the Varkans are relentless. They do not forgive mistakes. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. The next morning, the strike team boarded their ships. Jason sat in the command seat of the lead ship, fingers hovering over controls. Leora's ship followed closely, monitoring their progress and ready to provide support if needed. As they approached the Nabara sector, sensors detected the Varkan outer defenses. Swarms of drones patrolled the perimeter, and automated turrets tracked incoming objects with terrifying precision. Jason's heart raced, but he did not hesitate. Deploy decoys, he ordered. Draw their attention away from the main path. We'll approach from multiple angles. The plan unfolded like clockwork. The decoys distracted the drones while Jason's team maneuvered through narrow corridors of asteroid debris to avoid detection. Nira's telepathy allowed them to sense the Varkan patrol's movements, and Yal's engineering skill disabled several security measures with ingenious improvised tools. By the time they reached the outer defenses, the Varkans were confused. Their communication network was disrupted, causing disarray in their patrols. Jason moved quickly, planting interference devices at key nodes, each one designed to create a chain reaction of miscommunication across the hive. Tarek fought off a sudden ambush, his strength and reflexes keeping the team safe while Jason coordinated the operation. Every move relied on precise timing and a combination of human creativity and alien abilities. After hours of careful maneuvering, the mission's first stage was complete. The outer defenses were crippled and the Varkans were beginning to panic. Jason's team held their position, ready to guide the Allied fleets into the sector. The fleets arrived just as Jason had anticipated. The Varkans, disoriented by the interference devices, could not coordinate their defenses. Ships from multiple worlds moved in perfect synchronization, striking with a precision that even the Varkans could not predict. Jason watched the battle unfold from his command seat. The humans and their allies moved with ingenuity, exploiting weaknesses that the Varkans hadn't expected. The hive structure began to collapse under pressure, and for the first time it seemed victory was possible. As the battle reached its peak, a warning flashed on Jason's console. A secondary hive cluster had been detected, larger and more fortified than the one they had just disabled. This was the real heart of the Varkan operation, and it would not fall easily. Jason took a deep breath. "Prepare for Phase 2, he ordered. "We're going in. Stay focused. Remember your training, trust your instincts, and stay unpredictable." Leora leaned closer. "I will guide you through the approach." "You are ready for this, Jason. Humans are capable of what others cannot imagine. Use that strength," Jason nodded. He had learned that being human was not just about physical abilities. It was about courage, resourcefulness, and the willingness to face impossible odds. He could see it now, not just in himself, but in the way his team looked to him for guidance. The ships accelerated toward the secondary hive. Jason's mind worked rapidly, calculating trajectories, predicting Varkan responses, and devising contingencies for every possible scenario. He felt alive in a way he had never experienced. This was not just a mission. It was a test of human ingenuity against the most formidable enemy he had ever encountered. The secondary hive loomed ahead, massive and foreboding. Varkan defense drones swarmed in tight formations, and energy barriers shimmered along the surface. Jason's heart pounded, but fear did not control him. He thought, adapted, and acted. "Deploy the synchronized drones," he ordered. "Follow my signal. Confuse their sensors. Hit multiple points at once." The team executed flawlessly. The drones moved like shadows, striking the Varkans from unexpected angles, creating chaos within the hive. Jason's tactics forced the Varkans into reactionary moves, breaking their coordination. Hours passed as the battle raged. Jason relied on instinct, strategy, and the unpredictable nature of human thought to stay ahead. Leora monitored their progress, providing crucial support when necessary. But Jason realized something remarkable. Humans, when trusted and given responsibility, could lead, inspire, and succeed in ways that even the most advanced alien minds could not predict. As the secondary hive began to crumble, Jason allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The Varkans were retreating, their forces scattered, and the threat to the sector had been significantly reduced. Leora's voice came over the comms. "You have done well, Jason. Today you have shown what humans can achieve. You did not follow expectations, you created new possibilities. That is why you were chosen." Jason exhaled, exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced the unimaginable, and his human qualities, creativity, courage, adaptability had made the difference. The battle was far from over, and the Varkans would regroup, but Jason knew one thing. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were capable of heroism, of leadership, and of changing the course of the galaxy. For the first time, he truly understood the meaning of being human in a universe filled with powerful and ancient civilizations. Humans were bold, unpredictable, and remarkable, and now so was he. After the successful strike on the secondary hive, Jason Kane and his team returned to the Etherian capital, their ships gliding smoothly through the black expanse of space. Despite their victory, there was little time to celebrate. The Varkans were not a species that could be defeated by a single blow. They were persistent, adaptive, and relentless. Jason knew that the next challenge would be even greater. Leora met him at the docking bay, her violet eyes bright with a mixture of relief and determination. "You have done well," she said, her voice steady. "But the fight is far from over. The Varkans are regrouping, and we have intelligence that a massive hive is forming near the Corin system. If it completes its development, it could threaten every allied world in this sector." Jason nodded. "Then we strike before it reaches full strength. We have momentum, and we need to keep the pressure on. Humans don't wait for the enemy to dictate the pace." Leora smiled faintly. "I admire your confidence. That is why I chose you. You see opportunity where others see only danger. That is the human way." The council convened again, this time with a renewed sense of urgency. Jason presented his analysis, outlining the Varkans' adaptive patterns and predicting likely locations for their next hive. He proposed a daring plan, a multi-pronged assault, combining long-range strikes, infiltration teams, and human-led improvisation squads. The room was tense. The reptilian general spoke first. "It is audacious. It could succeed or it could end in catastrophe. You place great responsibility on human shoulders. Jason met his gaze evenly. I place responsibility where it belongs, with those who can think differently, who can adapt in real time. That is what humans do. We improvise. We create solutions on the spot. That is why I lead this mission. Leora nodded in agreement. He is right. Humans have done what others could not. And this plan, bold as it is, gives us our best chance. The council reluctantly approved, and Jason set to work preparing his team. This mission would be more complex than anything they had faced. The hive in the Corin system was massive, fortified with energy barriers, automated defenses, and Varkon commanders who had learned from previous encounters. But Jason was undeterred. He studied every piece of intelligence, cross-referencing data with simulations and historical patterns of Varkan behavior. He spent hours mapping out infiltration routes, escape plans, and contingency strategies. Every scenario was considered, every possibility accounted for, but he left space for improvisation, the human edge. The strike team gathered once more. Tarek, the insectoid warrior, flexed his powerful limbs, ready for battle. Nira, the telepathic navigator, radiated focus and calm. Yal, the engineer, tinkered with a new set of drones designed to bypass the hive's defenses. And Jason, he felt the weight of responsibility but also the thrill of leadership. Listen carefully, he said. The Varkans will expect a conventional attack. We won't give it to them. We will split into 3 squads. Squad 1 will approach from the asteroid belt, using stealth drones to disable energy barriers. Squad 2 will infiltrate the hive directly, planting disruption devices. Squad 3, my squad, will coordinate strikes and respond to threats as they arise. Trust your training, trust your instincts, and trust each other. That is how we win. Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. You lead with confidence, Jason. That inspires your team. Remember, humans are not just participants in this fight. We are catalysts. You will shape the battle, not just follow it. Jason nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Humans had always been underestimated by other species. Their unpredictability, resourcefulness, and courage had carried them through countless impossible situations. Now, those traits would be tested on a scale larger than anything he had ever imagined. The journey to the Corin system was tense. The ships moved in formation, sensors scanning for any sign of Varkon activity. Jason monitored every feed, every alert, and every anomaly. He made small adjustments, anticipating enemy responses before they even occurred. His team followed his lead with precision, relying on his judgment and trusting his instincts. When they reached the hive, the enormity of the challenge became clear. The hive was massive, a dark, pulsating structure stretching across an entire asteroid cluster. Energy barriers shimmered around it, and swarms of Varkan drones patrolled the perimeter with relentless efficiency. Jason took a deep breath. This is it, he said. Remember, we strike where they do not expect. Stay unpredictable, stay human. The first stage of the operation began. Jason's squad deployed advanced reconnaissance drones, scanning for weak points in the hive's defenses. Nira used her telepathy to sense patrol routes and avoid detection. Tarek and Yal prepared specialized devices to disable energy barriers and automated turrets. Jason marveled at the coordination. Each team member contributed their unique abilities, but it was human ingenuity that tied it all together. Improvised strategies, split-second decisions, and bold maneuvers allowed them to bypass obstacles that would have trapped any other force. As they infiltrated the outer perimeter, they encountered the first real resistance. Varkan drones detected movement and launched an attack. Jason reacted instantly, directing drones to intercept and creating a distraction that allowed his team to slip past. Tarek engaged the drones with strength and precision, while Nira predicted their next moves before they acted. Yal rigged improvised traps that disabled several patrol units. Jason felt the thrill of leadership. Humans had an ability to adapt, to think creatively under pressure that other species lacked. Each moment required calculation, improvisation, and courage. Every decision carried weight, but he thrived under it. Inside the hive, the stakes grew higher. The corridors were narrow, pulsating with the hive's organic energy. Varkan sentries patrolled relentlessly, their hive-mind coordination challenging to outthink. Jason relied on human ingenuity, misdirection, stealth tactics, and unconventional maneuvers to keep the team ahead of the enemy. They reached a central chamber, where the heart of the hive's communication network pulsed with energy. Jason directed Y'all to deploy interference devices designed to disrupt the Varkan's hive mind. The devices hummed to life, sending chaotic signals that spread throughout the hive, sowing confusion and slowing coordination. The Varkans reacted unpredictably, a sign that Jason's strategy was working. Their drones faltered, patrols became disorganized, and commanders struggled to maintain control. The hive was destabilized, giving Allied fleets the chance to strike. Jason coordinated with the fleet, directing attacks with precision. Human intuition and rapid decision-making allowed them to exploit weaknesses that other species could not see. The combined forces pressed the advantage, pushing deeper into the hive's territory, but victory came at a cost. The Varkans were adaptive, and their hive mind began to reroute defenses. Jason realized that complacency could be fatal. He adjusted tactics on the fly, improvising new strategies to counter the unexpected moves. Humans thrived in such situations, where rules could not predict outcomes and bold thinking was essential. Hours passed as they fought through the hive, disabling defenses, neutralizing threats, and guiding Allied forces. Jason's leadership proved invaluable. He anticipated Varkan moves, responded to surprises, and inspired his team to act with courage and ingenuity. Every success reinforced the truth he had discovered. Humans were not just capable, they were extraordinary when trusted to act decisively. As the hive began to collapse under the combined assault, Jason allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. The Varkans were retreating, their forces in disarray. The immediate threat to the Koran system had been neutralized, but Jason knew this was only a battle, not the end of the war. Leora appeared beside him once more. "You have done the impossible," she said. The Varkans underestimated humans. They did not account for courage, adaptability, and creativity. "That is what sets your species apart." Jason nodded, exhausted but proud. He had faced a challenge unlike any other, relying not on brute force or superior technology alone, but on the human mind and spirit. Humans could adapt, improvise, and inspire. Humans could lead when others faltered. The Council recognized his achievements. Messages of respect and admiration poured in from allied worlds. For the first time, humans were not merely participants in galactic affairs. They were leaders, innovators, and catalysts for change. As Jason reflected on the day's events, he understood something vital. Being human was more than biology. It was a way of thinking, a willingness to face the impossible, and the courage to act when others hesitated. That was the gift he and his species brought to the galaxy. And even as the Varkans retreated to regroup, Jason knew that humans would be ready. They would continue to defy expectations, to think differently, and to inspire hope in ways that no other species could. For Jason Kane, the war against the Varkans was far from over. But he had proven one undeniable truth: humans were extraordinary. And with that truth, he and his team would face whatever challenges the galaxy could throw at them, confident in their unique abilities and unshakable resolve. The Varkans were not easily defeated. Though their hive in the Koran system had been disrupted, Jason Kane knew this was only a temporary victory. The alien predators were clever, resilient, and driven by a hive mind that constantly adapted to new threats. Every move Jason and his team had made would be studied, analyzed, and countered. They would strike again, and soon. Jason sat in the command center of the Etherian capital, reviewing intelligence reports and satellite scans. The Council had insisted on debriefing him immediately after the battle. Each member of the Allied coalition wanted to understand how a single human had led a successful strike against one of the most feared species in the galaxy. Princess Leora stood beside him, her expression serious. "The Varkans are retreating, but they are not defeated. We have detected signs of hive regeneration in 3 separate sectors. They are preparing for a counterattack." Jason nodded. "We expected as much. They will adapt, reorganize, and attempt to reclaim lost territory. That is the Varkan way. But humans have a way of thinking outside the expected. We will be ready." The Council listened intently as Jason outlined his plan. It was bold, risky, and unconventional, just like the missions that had brought them success so far. Rather than waiting for the Varkans to strike, he proposed a proactive approach: preemptive strikes against their emerging hives, targeted sabotage of their supply lines, and human-led infiltration teams to destabilize their command structures before the enemy could consolidate strength. A tall, amphibious ambassador leaned forward, his eyes wide with disbelief. "You suggest we attack multiple hives simultaneously? Even with your human tactics, that is dangerous. We could lose entire fleets." Jason met his gaze calmly. "We will minimize risk by striking smart, not blindly. Humans have survived countless impossible situations by improvising, observing, and acting faster than the enemy expects. That is the edge we have. That is why I lead this effort." Leora placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "He speaks the truth. Humans see paths where others see walls. We must trust him." The council reluctantly agreed to proceed with Jason's plan. He immediately began coordinating the teams, selecting pilots, engineers, strategists, and combat specialists from across the Allied fleets. Each squad would rely on human ingenuity to navigate complex situations where conventional tactics would fail. Jason's team was expanded for this mission. Tarek, the insectoid warrior, remained by his side, a pillar of strength and loyalty. Nira's telepathy would guide them through unpredictable threats, while Yal's mechanical genius would allow them to improvise solutions on the spot. New members joined, a human engineer named Rena, skilled in electronic warfare, and a telekinetic alien named Velo, whose abilities complemented their improvisation strategies perfectly. Preparation was intense. Jason spent long hours studying the Varkans' patterns, anticipating their countermeasures. He ran simulations identifying weak points in the enemy's hive structures, energy barriers, and communication networks. Each plan included multiple contingencies, allowing room for improvisation, a hallmark of human strategy. The day of the mission arrived. The strike teams departed in coordinated waves, each moving toward their designated targets. Jason led the primary squad personally, entering a system where a newly forming hive had been detected. The enemy presence was lighter here, but the hive was protected by unpredictable energy defenses and patrolling drones. As they approached, Jason issued orders with precision. "Deploy stealth drones. Scan for energy anomalies. We move only when we understand the layout completely. One mistake could alert the hive prematurely." Nira's telepathic senses guided them through the approach. She whispered warnings of patrol patterns, potential traps, and unusual hive behavior. Tarek prepared for physical confrontations, muscles coiled and ready. Yal checked every device, ensuring their improvised interference tools would work under pressure. They entered the outer perimeter of the hive without detection. The energy barriers shimmered, pulsing with power, but Jason had predicted their timing. Using synchronized drones, they created diversions that drew the Varkans' attention, while his squad slipped through weak points. Inside, the hive was alive with motion. Varkan drones moved in coordinated swarms, their hive mind network pulsing through the structure. Jason felt the weight of responsibility. One wrong move could set off alarms across the galaxy, but he relied on human instinct, thinking faster than the enemy could predict. "Plant the interference devices," Jason ordered. "Spread them throughout the central node. We need maximum disruption." Yal moved with efficiency, his devices clinging to surfaces and beginning their work. Velo used her telekinetic abilities to manipulate energy conduits, subtly altering the hive's internal flow to create confusion. Tarek engaged drones that had detected movement, fighting without hesitation but ensuring the team could proceed safely. Hours passed in tense coordination. Jason's human ingenuity guided them, combining alien abilities with unconventional tactics. They adapted to every new threat, finding solutions that were not in any manual, not programmed in any AI. Their unpredictability gave them the advantage against a species that relied on rigid coordination. Suddenly, an unexpected Varkan commander emerged. Larger, more intelligent than the drones they had faced, it commanded the hive with efficiency and aggression. Jason had to think fast. "Distract it," he ordered. "Use decoys and diversionary drones. Force it away from the central node." The squad executed flawlessly. Nira projected telepathic confusion, while Tarek engaged the commander physically, drawing its attention. Yal and Velo reinforced the interference devices, increasing the chaos in the hive's communication network. Jason coordinated every movement, anticipating the commander's reactions. The plan worked. The Varkan commander was drawn away, and the interference devices spread maximum disruption. The hive's defenses faltered, leaving the structure vulnerable to Allied fleet attacks. Jason communicated with distant fleet commanders, directing precise strikes that avoided unnecessary casualties but maximized impact. When the dust settled, the hive was destabilized, its structure collapsing under coordinated assault. Jason's team emerged victorious once again, proving that humans could achieve what others could not. As they regrouped, Leora appeared on the comms. "You have done it again, Jason. The Varkans underestimated humans and they paid the price. Your creativity, courage, and leadership are unmatched. You are not just a human, you are extraordinary." Jason exhaled, exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced impossible odds, relied on human ingenuity, and succeeded where others might have failed. But he knew the war was far from over. The Varkans would learn from these defeats, adapt, and strike back with even greater force. Returning to the capital, Jason briefed the council once more. He emphasized that the Varkans' adaptability meant that human-led missions would continue to be essential. Allies were inspired by his success, but the underlying message was clear. Humans were a critical force in the galaxy, capable of turning the tide when ingenuity and courage were required. Leora approached him privately. "Jason, the Varkans will not stop. They will learn, evolve, and challenge us in ways we cannot predict. But you have shown what humans can do. That is why I trust you. That is why your people matter." Jason nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Humans were not just participants, they were catalysts. Their ability to improvise, adapt, and lead gave them a unique role in the galaxy. He had seen it firsthand, and he understood that the future would demand even more of him and his species. For now, the capital celebrated their success, but Jason remained focused. The Varkans were regrouping, and the next battle would be harder, more dangerous, and more complex. But he was ready. Humans thrived in impossible situations. They adapted, improvised, and persevered. And Jason Kane, a single human among many alien leaders, would continue to demonstrate that truth. Even as the celebrations continued, Jason returned to the planning room, analyzing new intelligence and preparing for the next mission. The Varkans' shadow loomed large across the galaxy, but humans had a way of turning darkness into opportunity. With strategy, courage, and creativity, they could face any challenge. Jason realized something vital. Being human was more than biology. It was courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to act when others hesitated. It was the ability to turn fear into opportunity and uncertainty into action. That was the strength that made humans extraordinary, and as he plotted the next strike, Jason felt ready. Humans had already proven their value in the galaxy, and they would continue to do so. The Varkans were dangerous, intelligent, and relentless, but humans, with their adaptability and creativity, were capable of triumphing against any threat. Jason looked at Leora's comm image, her expression a mix of pride and hope. "We will succeed," he said. "We are human and that is enough." Leora smiled. "Indeed, Jason, enough and more than enough." The galaxy was tense. The Varkans, smart and relentless, had regrouped faster than anyone had expected. Their hives had multiplied, spreading across multiple sectors, and intelligence suggested they were preparing a final, massive assault. Every Allied fleet was on high alert, but Jason Kane understood that traditional strategies alone would not suffice. This would require the full measure of human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. Jason stood on the observation deck of the flagship Etherian command vessel. Stars streaked past the hull as fleets moved into position. Beside him, Princess Leora observed silently, her violet eyes reflecting both pride and concern. "We face our greatest challenge yet," she said quietly. "If the Varkans succeed, countless worlds will be lost. But I have faith in you, Jason. Humans have changed the course of this war already. Now we need you to guide us to victory." Jason nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "We've faced impossible odds before," he said. "We've seen what humans can do when trusted, when allowed to act creatively, when we think differently. This time will be no different." The battle plan was complex. Jason divided the fleets into coordinated waves, each targeting specific hives while avoiding predictable patterns. He deployed specialized strike teams, composed of humans and allied species, tasked with sabotage, disruption, and diversion. Every unit would act independently but in perfect harmony, relying on human improvisation to exploit weaknesses the Varkans could not anticipate. His own team, the best and most trusted, would lead the central strike. Tarek, the insectoid warrior, would handle ground engagements where brute strength was needed. Nira, the telepathic navigator, would guide infiltration squads and sense danger before it struck. Yal, the engineer, would operate interference devices and improvise technology to neutralize hive defenses. Rena, the human electronic warfare specialist, and Velo, the telekinetic alien, would support with manipulation of energy fields and communication disruption. Jason addressed the squad one last time. "This is it. The Varkans will be fast, aggressive, and clever, but humans have something they do not expect: creativity, courage, and unpredictability. Trust your instincts, trust each other, and remember, adaptability is our greatest weapon. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do." The team moved into position, ships sleek and quiet as they approached the Varkan territory. The first sign of resistance came almost immediately. Swarms of drones erupted from the hives, patrolling the space around them. Jason anticipated this. "Deploy diversionary drones," he ordered. "We draw their attention while our main strike team approaches from unexpected angles." The plan worked. The Varkans, expecting direct assaults, were thrown into confusion by the diversions. Jason's team moved swiftly, slipping past outer defenses and approaching the largest hive, the central command structure that controlled the others. Inside, the Varkans were reorganizing, preparing to counterattack. But Jason's interference devices were already spreading chaos in their network. Ground teams deployed from the ships, using stealth and agility to infiltrate the hive. Jason coordinated their movements, anticipating Varkan responses. Every unexpected action, rapid strikes, misdirection, improvised sabotage disrupted the enemy further. Inside the hive, the Varkans panicked. Their communication networks, the backbone of their strategy, were failing. Jason watched through drone feeds as commanders attempted to coordinate defenses, only to find the signal scrambled. The hive mind was breaking down, its swarms acting independently instead of in unison. Tarek engaged a massive Varkan warrior that blocked a critical pathway. He moved with precision and power, his alien physiology giving him speed and strength beyond human limits. But it was Jason's guidance, strategic positioning, timing, and distraction that allowed Tarek to succeed without excessive risk. Jal and Rena worked together, placing interference devices that created false hive mind signals, sending portions of the Varkan forces in the wrong directions. Velo manipulated energy conduits to destabilize internal power flows, making automated defenses malfunction. Nira projected telepathic confusion among the Varkans, ensuring their instincts betrayed them at critical moments. Jason himself coordinated every movement, anticipating counterattacks, improvising responses, and exploiting weaknesses the Varkans did not even know existed. Human creativity was the linchpin. Each decision made in seconds turned potential disaster into opportunity. The central hive was massive, but Jason remained calm. "We target the core," he said. "Everything else falls apart if we disrupt it. Follow my lead and improvise when necessary. No plan survives contact with the enemy. Adapt." The team pushed forward. They navigated twisting corridors, bypassed energy fields, and avoided deadly traps. Every unexpected obstacle was met with creative solutions. A drone used to jam a sensor, an improvised ramp to bypass a collapsed passage, a distraction timed perfectly to lure guards away. Finally, they reached the hive's core chamber. The pulsating structure radiated energy, a living network connecting every Varkan drone, warrior, and commander. Jason instructed Yal and Rena to deploy the final interference devices. Phalo manipulated the energy currents to amplify their effect. Nira projected a telepathic disruption across the chamber. Tarek and the ground team stood ready to defend against any emergent threats. As the devices activated, the core shuddered. Varkan forces inside the hive panicked, their coordination collapsing completely. Jason guided his team through the chaotic corridors, ensuring they avoided casualties while maximizing the hive's destabilization. Every decision required focus, quick thinking, and trust in human improvisation. The Allied fleets received signals from Jason, coordinating attacks on secondary hives. Deprived of central command, the Varkans fell easily. Ships moved in perfect synchrony, striking where the enemy was weakest. Humans were guiding the entire battle, even across vast distances, their ingenuity making the difference between victory and defeat. Hours passed. The Varkan's central hive began to collapse under the combined assault of interference devices, Allied strikes, and Jason's leadership. Swarms of drones scattered, commanders lost control, and energy fields failed. For the first time, a human-led strategy had defeated a major Varkan operation entirely. Jason took a deep breath, scanning the battlefield. "Hold position," he ordered. "Ensure no drones escape. Sweep every sector." His team moved efficiently, securing the hive and neutralizing remaining threats. The Varkans were retreating, defeated, and disorganized. Victory was theirs, but it had been achieved through strategy, courage, and creativity, not brute force alone. Liora appeared on the comm screen, her expression radiant. "You have done it, Jason. The Varkans are broken and the galaxy is safe, for now. You have proven what humans can achieve. Your creativity, courage, and leadership have changed the course of this war. You are extraordinary." Jason allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. He had faced impossible odds, relied on human ingenuity, and led a coalition of species to victory. Every decision, every improvisation, every act of courage had mattered. Humans had been underestimated for too long, but their unique strengths had turned the tide. Returning to the capital, Jason and his team were greeted as heroes. The council recognized their accomplishments, and messages of admiration poured in from allied worlds. But for Jason, the real victory was in proving a deeper truth. Humans were more than participants in galactic affairs. They were leaders, innovators, and catalysts for change. Liora approached him privately. "Jason, the galaxy has seen what humans are capable of. But more importantly, you have shown it. You have inspired hope, courage, and unity. That is the greatest gift a human can give." Jason smiled faintly. "We did it together. Humans are capable, but only when trusted and allowed to act creatively. That is what made the difference." Liora nodded. "Yes, and the galaxy will remember this. Your people will not be underestimated again." Even as celebrations continued, Jason remained vigilant. The Varkans were defeated today, but they were still out there, waiting, learning, and adapting. Humans had proven they could face the impossible, but the future would demand more courage, more ingenuity, and more leadership. Jason knew that humans thrived in challenges, that they adapted, improvised, and inspired when others faltered. And as he looked to the stars, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and opportunities, and humans would be ready for whatever came next. In the end, Jason Kane understood a vital truth. Being human was not just a matter of biology. It was a combination of courage, creativity, and determination. It was the willingness to face the impossible and turn it into triumph. Humans were extraordinary, and their potential had no limits. And in that moment, as the stars stretched endlessly before him, Jason knew that humans, and he himself, were ready to shape the future of the galaxy.